Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Wednesdays with Woody. It's Wednesdays. Hello, and welcome back to the final episode of this season of Wednesdays with Woody. If you haven't guessed it, I am your host, Woody Woods, who is, who is trying to do the most. And I'll be your guide through this episode where we discuss whatever is permeating in the back of my mind, whatever is trending and topical. Not much. I think this is more like a recap of the last 20 episodes that which we've recorded. I can't believe it. I can't believe we're here. I definitely need a break. I definitely need to regroup. I definitely need to think about what the future seasons of Wednesdays with Woody look like and what that means for myself and what improvements I can make to this whole thing. But before we get into any of that, let's do a little recap on what has been happening this past week. In case we weren't paying attention, and I most definitely was not, this past week at the Wearable Art Gala, I believe 2 Beyonce tickets went on sale for about $20,000. Wild. And Blue Ivy obviously bidding around $80,000 in support of this endeavor. I mean, obviously the Twitter sphere went wild and absolutely crazy. I don't know. I don't have $10,000 just sitting around. And that's not even converting it to any other currency. Just to go to a Beyonce concert. But I would love to be there at the Renaissance concert tour because, oh gosh, I think it's going to be a wild party. As we know, earlier on this year, around late July, Beyonce obviously released the Renaissance album, which then was followed by the album release, which was a little bit later in August. Oh, my dates are just all messed up. But obviously earlier this year, or halfway through this year actually, the album was released, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm still jamming, and I can't seem to stop myself from jamming from the album. I listen to only it when I'm in the gym. It's such a good vibe. I recently actually realized, when was it? On Sunday? Yeah, on Sunday, that I've been listening to this album, but I, for whatever reason, have not heard Break My Soul in the longest of times because I hadn't downloaded it onto my Apple Music playlist. And I started just listening to that, and I was like, oh my gosh, listening to the album from start to end is just the only way to do it. But yeah, these tickets were being auctioned for about $10,000 as I suspect they would, because everyone is just clamoring to get their hands on those tickets. And it's kind of weird, given that we have only received Act 1, and I believe it's Act 1 of 3. So we haven't received any video content. We haven't, and I suppose Act 3 is actually the concert itself, where everything sort of comes together and merges. But this is just me thinking, what are the possible acts that are coming along. But Act 2, which I assume is the video content, still hasn't been released yet. We're also jamming to this album. Everyone is just doing the Cuff It challenge. I tried to do it on last week Friday, and what a dismal fail. I really need to work on my dancing skills a little bit more. But yeah, I'm eagerly anticipating Act 2. I really want to see what the visual aspect of this album really looks like. I'm really hoping that it pays homage to just the 80s and the gay scene and the ballrooms and but from the little tidbits that I've seen, it's almost like there was the Tiffany campaign which she released, so it looked more like they were in a club, but it did give like obviously the notes and hints towards ballroom culture. Beautiful, but can she just release Act 2? Like, we can't carry on like this. This is ridiculous. But actually, she doesn't even need to release Act 2. We're still jamming to Act 1. Still a vibe. Cuff It will definitely be played at my wedding. You can bet your bottom dollar. But on that note, the fact that Blue Ivy had 80k just to spend at the Wearable Art Gala. Oh, child, I really wish. I suppose we all wish that we were Blue Ivy. But yeah, on to the next. Oh, my word. Travis Scott all over the socials this weekend when his side chick of, I believe, 8 years came out with some receipts, and ooh, my word. I mean, if any of these allegations are true, for whatever case, it's quite damning and disheartening. It really is. I mean, the Kardashian women just can't catch a break in relation to these black men, and it's so sad. You know, I was talking to a friend this weekend, and I said to her that at this stage, I'm not even going to be pointing a finger at the Kardashians and saying that, oh, these women, they just ruin lives. Absolutely not. There's more to be said about these black men in their lives, and the help that they need. If any of these allegations against Travis Scott are indeed true. Obviously, the side chick has come out with her receipts. He's come out with his receipts. It's just looking like a hot mess. And at the time of this recording, obviously, major news outlets like TMZ and hadn't picked up the story, which always for me is like, no one works harder than Christian in that industry. Like, to cover up a story, mama knows what she's doing. But damn. I mean, poor Kylie. You know, I don't know. I really do feel sorry. I really do feel sorry for the Kardashian women. I mean, obviously, outside of you just being in the public space where you occupy and you having opened up your lives in the way that you've opened up your lives towards the world, just to get a view of how you guys live, how you guys conduct business, how you guys move through these streets and through this industry. Y'all just can't catch a break in love, but I suppose you can't have everything. No, let's not. You can have everything. You definitely damn well can have everything, but you just can't catch a break in your love lives. And it's quite sad if any of these allegations are true. If indeed she does know Travis that way. You know, another tweet that I read, which was quite humorous to me, was that I didn't know Kylie had been a side chick all this time. There was actually a main who's been there, riding and dying with Travis from the get-go. So yeah, I mean, that obviously took up a lot of time on Sunday. A lot of us were a little bit shocked, but some of us weren't shocked. I don't even know what to make of it. A part of me is just not interested at all, because I'm just like, you know what? Enough. Like, can we just leave these women alone and just respect them? But obviously, as black men, there's also that thing of like, can y'all stop disrespecting women of any race? Just stop disrespecting these women. Do right by these women. And obviously I do want to say not all black men, but I do know that obviously then sends us into a spiral which doesn't allow us to address the issues as they currently are. So actually all black men, myself included, can we just do right by our partners? Can we just do right by our people? And stop, like, I don't know, embarrassing them and dragging them through the streets. I did also, was it last week Thursday? Yeah, last week Thursday, I went on a on a TikTok black hole. This woman who had obviously shared her views around black men needing to seek therapy, and damn, y'all dragged her. black men and women alike dragged her, and then they found out her name, and from finding out her name, then proceeded to get her fired from her employer, which was quite sad to witness her journey. And I was watching these videos, obviously post the whole endeavor. It was quite sad to watch it, but then obviously I think she's doing well right now. But at the time, you're just trying to do what you've done in your career, as she had stated from the beginning, which was help the black community in terms of getting access to medical health services. And here she is telling y'all need to go to therapy, and then y'all just subsequently get her fired. Like, it's wild. I'm a believer of going to therapy and sitting down with someone just to clear your mental headspace, just to get some perspective on your life. Your voice can become the loudest voice in your head, and can become a negative source if you're not really dealing with your trauma, dealing with your issues, resolving whatever aspects of your life you need to resolve. But as I have said previously before on this podcast, like, mental health is really important to all of us, black, white, Indian, whatever, wherever you are on the spectrum of race. Mental health is super important, and we really do need to take care of our mental states, because once the mind goes, everything else goes. So yeah, but obviously I've moved far away from talking about Travis Scott now and Kylie Jenner and that whole saga. I do wish them well in trying to resolve this issue. Yeah, I wish them well. I mean, if it's a relationship that is not meant for her and him, they do have 2 beautiful children, which they do need to find some way of co-parenting. If the relationship does come to an end, I wish them well. I suspect that it cannot be easy at all to be raising children in the spotlight, with all that rigmarole and hoo-ha. But damn, Kardashian women, I feel for you guys. I really, really do feel for you guys, and I tend not to feel for you guys a lot of the times. But under this, y'all have just not had good luck when it comes to love, and I really do feel for you in that context. Everyone deserves to be loved. Come on. Well. I mean, it is the season for all things spooky. But as I've repeatedly been saying throughout the month of October, while people are celebrating their Octobers and whatever else they're trying to observe this month, it is Pride Month here in South Africa. And as we know, on the 29th of October, the Johannesburg Pride Walk will be happening. Oh my word. I really want to go, but I'm feeling so drained, and I know it's going to be such a vibe and it's going to be such a party, but I think me and Ryan have opted to host our own little get together on that day, a Halloween party. But if you're marching, if you are out in the streets, please be safe. Please celebrate celebrate as wildly as you possibly want to, and as freely as you possibly can. As I said in some of my previous podcasts, Pride Month is just an opportunity to celebrate how far we've come as a group of queers and the history of that queer journey. Obviously, there are many who are still in the closet, many who are still fighting the good fight in many parts of the world and many parts of Africa just in general. So I'm gonna observe a moment on Saturday just to celebrate Pride and just to be present in it some way, one way or the other. I don't think I can do the whole walk like I have been spending endless hours jogging in the morning, and I'm quite defeated just on a physical level. But if you are at Pride, I'm wishing you light, I'm wishing you love, I'm wishing you celebration, I'm wishing you joy, and whatever after parties that you go to afterwards, may they be just blissful, may they just be, I don't know, may they be exciting. I think I might end up at an after party. I don't know. Saturday, I think some wild things are about to happen, but we'll see how that all goes down. Talking about pride and identity and, how we raise children, which is becoming increasingly something very important to me for whatever reason. I think I'm broody. This past weekend, I was at my parents' house just waiting for my sister to arrive, and I decided to go sit in a small little park across the road from where my parents stay. And while I was there, there was a family of 4. I'm suspecting it was a family of 4 or a family of 3 with the nanny, small little boys, and their nanny, and they were just playing in the park, on the jungle gyms, on the swing, and they were walking their way to the slide. And I think one of the boys, the eldest boy, he'd hurt his hand and he was feeling quite fragile, and you could see that he just wanted to sit down, and his nanny or his aunt or his grand or whoever it was, this person in his life, his relation, we'll just say that, called him over and said that no, you can't be crying. Boys don't cry. Have you ever seen a lion cry? You don't cry, because if you cry, you're teaching your younger siblings that it's okay to cry, and boys don't cry. You have to be strong. You can't let them see you cry, otherwise they're going to think it's okay. And it really broke my heart that is still the rhetoric that is being taught to little boys, that they shouldn't cry, that they should be strong and fearless and well put together, and whatever the case might be. I really do wish for a very different future for little boys and girls, I really do wish that, in fact, I suppose this does go back to mental health in one way or the other. It's important that we teach little boys good coping mechanisms for life, and not to suppress their emotions for fear of being perceived as weak. There's nothing wrong with crying. I've always said that vulnerability is actually one of our strongest strengths. Woody? One of our strengths as human beings, being vulnerable and being able to be vulnerable, not only with yourself, first and foremost, but with those around you. It does open a lot for open and honest conversation and just a lot of healing. So I was very disappointed at this nanny or this caretaker or this aunt or whoever she was in these children's lives to be speaking that kind of rhetoric to this little boy. And I don't know, I'm hoping that as we raise our own children, millennials and Gen Z and whoever else is having children during this time of the year, or this time in our lives at least, that we choose a different rhetoric, something that is more empowering, something that is more enabling, something that allows for little boys and girls and trans boys and girls, in fact the whole spectrum, straight, gay, bi, whatever the case might be, that healthy coping mechanisms, we instill these in our children in order to deal with their own emotions, so that they don't become psychopaths, so they don't become I don't want to say serial killers, wounded citizens of the world. I really am hoping I'm just hoping for a better future for our children. And I'm sounding very old, but yeah, I really am. The story touched my heart, and listening to her just dig into him, even look in his face and say, like, do you see any tears in my eyes? Do you see any tears in my eyes? I'm a crying. You have to be strong. It really tore me up. I also think that because I never had, my parents weren't like that with me and my siblings. I never felt like I couldn't cry or that I shouldn't cry. It was something that I learned from watching society, that and this rhetoric that boys don't cry. What I do remember is my dad saying that, hell no, will you have a toy gun in this house? He was very anti-weaponry of any kind in the house, because he just didn't want us to grow up with a certain level of violence or an exposure to violence that I suppose that he just didn't want that for his children. And rightfully so. We don't need that in the world. We need peace, love, and happiness, honey. Yeah. Obviously, there is still a lot happening in the world as I record this final episode for the year. There is still a war happening in Ukraine. If anything, it looks like it's just intensifying, just from the movements that are happening from the Russian angle with China and Hong Kong and Taiwan. There's still a war happening, and it's just not even the only war. There's actually a number of wars that are happening also in Ethiopia, I believe. There's Ebola, which is back on the map. There is COVID, which is still with us. There is still monkeypox. There is still so much work to be done around LGBTQIA plus rights across the board, across the world. We're living through a financial crisis in many countries, with threats of a energy crisis, a famine, food crisis. There is a hell of a lot going on as I record this final podcast for the year. But I just want to reflect on what I hope this season of Wednesdays with Woody has achieved, for me at least. This was obviously just an experiment in a way for me to have a pet project of my own, something that I could escape into, something that I could share my views on, something that I could create discussions around. And I hope that I've done that. I hope I've shared parts of my life. I hope that I've been as open as possible. There are obviously just a number of things that I really want to dabble with going into the new year when it comes to this podcast. I definitely want to give you guys video content. I definitely was not ready this year for that. I just wanted to cement the podcast itself. But next year you can definitely expect some video content from me, and different voices. I mean, that was primarily the premise of this podcast from the get-go, to have different voices come on and share their views and share their opinions and share their insights on different topics that were happening in the world. Obviously, from what I can see, my friend and family groups have all been all over the place. And most probably they're just a little bit more shy than I am, except my little sister. She really had some very interesting topics that she really wanted to have us discuss. So I'm hoping that next year in the new year that I really am able to bring you those different voices to the podcast. Maybe even an introduction of Ryan. Maybe have Ryan just come on here, and also for us to see what we can come up with. Obviously it will be wild and crazy. We'll be planning a wedding in the midst of all of that. But I hope that you have enjoyed each of the 20 odd episodes that I put out, roughly on a weekly basis, and the views that I've shared and the topics that I have discussed. I think this season for me really centered around the importance of representation, as something that still needed a lot of work. As an area, not as something, as an area that still needs a lot of work in terms of LGBTQIA plus rights. I really wanted to get into the men who sleep with other men saga, but obviously for that, I really want to bring on some unique voices. So that will be next year's mission. But yeah, I really hope that you have enjoyed each week and each of the views that I've brought on each of the topics I've discussed. They really have centered around representation and mental health, especially leading towards the latter. Is it the latter? Oh gosh, I'm mincing my words. But as we've rolled on, mental health has really become like this central topic that I've really wanted to discuss. And I suppose next year we're going to see more of that. I don't think I'm going to shy away from any of that. But next year I want to give you guys different views. So, with all of this said and done, I'm wishing you guys a happy Halloween, a blessed Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas. I'm missing all of the other religious holidays. I'm just picking the ones that are just top of mind for me. And a happy new year. I'm hoping that it is a joyous year. I'm all about joy, y'all. I'm hoping that the year is just going to be full of light for you guys, full of love for you guys, full of happiness. I'm not about new year, new me. Hell no. Nor am I about let's hit these goals and smash these targets and get our summer bodies in order. No. Let's be gentle with ourselves in 2023, 2024, and 2023. What year are we walking into? Let's be gentle with ourselves in 2023. Let's be loving of others and accommodating as far as we can go in our own personal capacities. And let's celebrate love, celebrate these milestones in our lives that we are hitting in the midst of a pandemic, in a war, in a financial crisis, in an energy crisis. Let's change the world one way or the other. So, with all of that said and done, this is just kind of bittersweet for me. I'm gonna see you guys next year. And yeah, keep blessed, and thank you for listening weekly to my podcast and just listening to my views, no matter how crazy they've been, and some of them I think have just been wild. But yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in the new year. Lots of love, lots of happiness, lots of joy. Until we meet again, lovers. Adios.